when I pass on, or even before that, there will never be a question on what my mom, my grandma, my great grandma, my great aunt, all of that. There will never be a question of who I was, what I believed in, what I experienced as a mompreneur. And like, that's crazy. I want you to think about if you had recordings and video of your grandmother or your great grandfather. Like, if you really think about it, that's mind blowing, right? Because we don't really have that. I have memories of my grandparents, but I wasn't recording them on my cell phone. Like it just wasn't. I wasn't thinking about that when they were alive. So now that we have these digital means of staying connected, I want to make sure that I take advantage of it. And whether or not this platform makes me a ton of money, which would be amazing. Okay. Hey you, welcome to Shades of Content, a show that teaches entrepreneurs how to effectively use content to market their business and stay content while doing it. I'm your host, Patrice, a wife, a mom of 3, and a 15-year public relations and marketing professional who decided to open a brick and mortar content studio 4 years ago. And I honestly haven't looked back since. Join me as I share my experiences and the experiences of other entrepreneurs who, like me, are navigating this maze of owning a business, running a family, and trying to stay sane and healthy while doing it. I'll tell you, it's an amazingly challenging journey, but I honestly wouldn't have it any other way. See you soon. All right, guys, time for a quick break. And if you are a regular to the show, you know that being content is so important to me, working smarter, not harder. I did this podcast for 2 years all by myself. And then the podcast heavens opened up and I was introduced to Aileen, the owner of Your Pod Bud. And working with Aileen and her team has been absolutely amazing. If you're considering some type of audio or video content, you definitely need the support. Being the talent and then trying to create the graphics, schedule the episodes, write the show notes, tag all the affiliates, post the social media. Oh, you also have to make your snippets from the content. Yeah, you're not going to be successful if you're doing it yourself. So if in 2023, the plan or the goal is to unleash some beautiful type of content, I highly suggest working with Aileen, Your Pod Bud. They have been my podcast virtual assistant for the last year, and it has been the most amazing ride. The reason why this show is growing and is consistent and beautiful is because of them. So there's a link in the show notes. Again, if you are launching any type of new content in 2023, the game is working smarter, not harder. Investing in the support in Your Pod Bud is exactly that. Tell them Patrice with Shades of Content sent you. Welcome back. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Shades of Content. I'm your host, Patrice, and this is the show that teaches Black millennial mompreneurs contentment hacks and content marketing hacks. I am so happy to be back. I know we weren't here last week. We had to take a little break because your girl be tired, but we're back. It's Friday. We got a full episode, and I'm always happy to be here. It's also March. So happy Women's History Month. Remember, it's not Women's Month. It's Women's History Month. And it is always an honor for me to be able to, as a woman, right, come into the space that I own, a women-owned business, and serve most of the women clients. I would say 85-90% of our clientele is women. And so it just feels really good to really be a part of the stories of women business owners, women content creators, women entrepreneurs, like all the things. Y'all come through here, and that makes me happy. So on this March, happy Women's History Month, I kind of thought about doing like a big March Women's History Month. This is also my business's anniversary. A lot of things happening in March. Thought about doing this big thing, but in the spirit of being content, I'm not. Because we put all these things, oh, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this. And then you end up going crazy trying to do everything. And it's just for real, not really worth it for me. I think continuing to put out consistent, motivational, inspirational, educational content is what matters to me. All the bells and whistles, the parties, the celebrations, that's cool. But that's not really where I am right now. So I hope that you take this episode in. It's going to be a really, really great episode. Take it in and share it with somebody. Make sure you also leave a review. Haven't gotten a review in a minute. That's why I'm not about to read one. But y'all know that we be needing the reviews. Do you like what I be saying? I come here, I script out, I spend a lot of time. I got all these people that come on a Sunday morning Let us know what you think. So it is March again. I'm going to actually tell you really quickly why March is so important to me. Okay, so my business started in March. We'll talk about that a little later. March 8th is International Women's Day. And if I'm being honest, I don't think International Women's Day was a big thing like 10 years ago, maybe even like 7 years ago, but now it's a big thing. So that's March 8th. March 12th is my dad's birthday. My dad is probably the favorite man in my life, right? My first favorite. I have a couple. He's the first. He's a Pisces. He's just a great father. I'm so thankful that he's my dad. So his birthday is March 12th. My son, his birthday is March 19th. So my son and my dad are literally 7 days apart, both Pisces. They act the exact same. They look alike. It's real crazy. And actually my baby boy was born, he was due on March 19th as well. He was born in January because he was premature, but he is really a Pisces spirit as well. March 19th is also the anniversary of this podcast. Remember, I just said I was thinking about doing this whole big shebang. We ain't doing that. You're going to get a regular episode. We'll talk about what I learned along this journey. But that's also on my son's birthday, which was intentional. I needed the start date to be a day that I would not forget. And so we just decided to launch the show on his birthday, which happened to also be a day or so after the shutdowns for COVID. A whole nother conversation. And then March 24th is the business that we're in, CAMPspace. It is our anniversary. And this year we celebrate 5 years of being a content hub for people to really create the marketing, to create the branding, to create the visions for what they've been gifted, right? So, so many businesses have come through this space. So many women business owners have come through this space. So many amazing production teams have come through this space to create the visuals that go with their brand. And we celebrate 5 years of that, which is wild. But we'll have a special episode for that. All right. So let's get on with the episode. I do have a current event / pretentious P moment, and we are going to talk about Rihanna at the Super Bowl. I know I'm a couple, not a couple. Well, Super Bowl was like 2 weeks ago, but there were no new episodes because we batch content. That's how that thing go. But Rihanna surprised us at the Super Bowl. We were all looking forward to seeing her. We got a baby, not an album. And I don't think we're going to get an album, right? So y'all probably should hang that up. ASAP will probably have an album released before Rihanna does, and that's fine. But she performed, and I knew off the break she was pregnant. I was like, oh, she's pregnant. Me being someone who's been pregnant multiple times, I know when somebody is pregnant. And then as soon as the performance was over, it was released that, yes, she's pregnant. That was the big announcement. Very cool. I love how Rihanna is always her. I know we live in a world where whether you're famous, whether you're not, whether you're whatever, I do think that we believe we have to do what other people are doing. And I just love that she got up there, had the dancers, had her look, and did not try to overcompensate. She just was Rihanna, pregnant or not. And I think about somebody like a Beyonce, who I loving all day, every day. A Beyonce Super Bowl performance we know it would have been all the dancing, da, 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 da. That ain't Rihanna. And not once did she feel like she had to go and be that extra person. She said, I'm gonna stand here, I'm gonna sing, y'all gonna lift me up, I'm gonna lift me down, I'm gonna hit you, bam, and kept it moving. So after the show, I immediately thought about all the things that mompreneurs could learn from Rihanna. I posted it on Instagram. There's a link to it in the show notes. The first one is nothing can stop you. Absolutely nothing. You can be 5 months pregnant, you can be whatever, and literally be the Super Bowl. Actually, it was the Rihanna concert the whole time. We was really more focused on seeing her. But who gonna stop you? Literally, who's gonna stop you? And the proof is that you as a mompreneur, you've gotten this far without allowing anybody to stop you. So don't let anything stop you as you move forward. There are gonna be trials, there are gonna be tribulations, there are gonna be great times, there are gonna be horrible times, but you absolutely have everything you need to keep going, right? So that was the first thing that mompreneurs can learn from her performance. The second thing, get you a solid team. So after she performed, I think, what's her name? Melissa, her best friend? I think that's her name. She posted a video of Rihanna and the whole crew, and it looked like all her cousins. It did not look like nobody that wasn't supposed to be in the family. And it was after the performance, and they were all like, ah, and you could just feel the excitement that everybody felt because everybody executed. It wasn't just Rihanna like standing on a stage and singing. Every single person played a role, from her partner ASAP, who was her partner in everything at this point. They literally have another baby coming, to her best friend who has been there since day one, to her cousin's mom. Everybody played a role in that team. And the lesson to you mompreneurs, you can't do it by yourself. I'm speaking from experience, someone who literally sometimes feels like I just want to shut the doors on everything because it is so hard doing it all by myself. And thankfully, like right now, I'm here recording with a team of people. The reason why I love recording this show so much is because I have the support from people who are great at what they do. So all I have to do is come here and sit and talk. And that makes life so much easier. And I also know it's what I'm supposed to be doing because the universe has conspired to make it just really effortless. It's not costing me like crazy money. It just all works, right? And so you have to have a team. You have to have a solid team. If there's someone that you have in your life that just is not meshing with your vision, then they're not a part of your team. You need to get rid of them. It's very simple. It's no love lost, but we're not on the same direction. I'm going to go this way. Very simple. And if you sit here and you think you can do it all on your own, we're going to see how long that shit lasts, because it's not going to last. Not if you want to. What is it saying? If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, have a team. Clearly, Rihanna has that. The third thing was that you are your brand. It was so bomb seeing Fenty promoting the Super Bowl, right? Like, of course, the things are all intertwined, but I can't say I was really expecting to see that. There was one commercial that they put on Instagram, and it was the Fenty colors that were literally in the shades. They were the makeup was coming down and it was coloring footballs. Genius. I don't know if they have an ad company that they're working with. I don't know, but it was just all weaved in so effortlessly. Like, it just made perfect sense. I don't know how many people watch the Super Bowl, probably like hundreds of millions, maybe a billion. But you can't pay for that. You can't pay for the visibility. And I don't know if you guys know this, but people who perform at the Super Bowl typically are not getting paid. They make their money off of the publicity. They make their money off the streams, right? So if you're performing in the Super Bowl and you're singing, as we're watching, we're literally streaming all the songs. We Shazam and everything. Oh, I remember that song. I don't know. And so the streams is where they make their money. And then things like Fenty, how many people, I would love to see how the ads and how the website visits spiked while she was performing. Like those are the things that I love. So if you're a mompreneur and you didn't get to see Rihanna's performance, go back and watch it. If it inspired the hell out of me. Like, I was sitting there just like, oh my God, this is so cool. I love Rihanna, but it wasn't even about the songs. It was about, she's pregnant and she has a probably close to $1 billion company. And the reason why I hesitated to say company is because I do believe it is owned by someone else, but she does have an investment stake in it because they're using her name, which is fine, right? Get it how you get it. That Fenty is nothing without her. So just watching that was like super, super cool for me as a mompreneur, not on Rihanna's level. But again, these are things that we can learn. Like, everything is inspiration in my opinion, and she is absolutely inspiring. And who would have thought that Rihanna umbrella would have like morphed into this? Like, it's just so beautiful to watch, and she just keeps getting better and better and better as she morphs into an amazing woman. All right, that was a bit of a rant, but I'd be inspired by my sisters doing it. Okay, so this episode, you already saw the title, and it is why you should start a podcast. I really want these episodes to be maybe like start to get like a little less personal and more informational, right? Because I do know that in my almost 40 years of life, 20 years in the space of all the things that I do, I know a lot of things. And what better way than to share what I know than to use a show? So I've been podcasting for 3 years, and it took me honestly 2 years to get my stride. January of 2022, we did a rebrand, and that was kind of when the light bulb went off. I got super consistent. I added video. I started working with Jabari and his amazing team. Ty has always been a part of the team. Ty, my guy, he always been in the mix. But adding video just added like another level of professionalism to it. Every day I'm learning something different. And I started this show because when I was a kid, I always wanted to be in radio. I felt like my voice had a really good tone that sounds good. Like audibly, my voice sounds good. And there are some people's voices who have podcasts and I can't listen to it because their voice is not, it's not good. And that's just how it is. That's how I hear it, right? I love to talk when I like what I'm talking about, right? If I'm just talking to talk, that ain't me. But if we actually having a conversation and it's something I'm passionate about, I love to do it. And I started this show because like this is the best way to promote the fact that I own a space that you can create content in. So every episode, unless I'm traveling. So last year I went to San Diego. I found a studio. I recorded there. I was in Miami for a weekend. I recorded at a studio in Miami, but 97% of the episodes are right here, right? Because every time you look at this show, you need to be like, wow, that's a nice place. Promoting my space for free. Okay. So my process, it took me 6 months of pondering over whether or not I should do this. I had a friend, if you've listened to the show, you kind of know the story. I have a good friend. He would always be like, yo, you need to start a podcast. Your voice, you done. And I'd be like, okay, whatever. So then I finally listened and I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. This was like June of 2019. It took me until January of 2020 to actually build the team, put the team together. I picked a date, which was my son's birthday. I said that earlier. And we launched in 4 weeks. Ty came. We were connected by a text from Nicole. Hi, Nicole. He came and we recorded, I think, 2 episodes, right? It was no video, all audio. I created all the branding myself. I went on Canva. I did everything. I loaded everything to Buzzsprout myself. Yeah, I did everything myself. And then waited 2 years. I had to get my stride. Waited 2 years. And then in January 2022, we shifted a little bit, didn't change the name. We kept the name because that's trademarked. But I decided to focus on Black millennial mompreneurs, content marketing and content. And that was probably the best decision I ever made. I still sometimes think about changing the name, but we are here now. And then I did a quasi rebrand in January of 2022. I actually paid to have a photo shoot done for that one. Updated, but I still updated all the graphics myself on Canva, did all the other work myself, but I did pay to have a photo shoot done because I was like, oh, get your little cute little picture taken. We launched the rebrand in January of last year with video and no turning back, right? Like I'm a little bit of a vet in this podcast space. I also was a part of a podcast mentorship program. So there's a group called OSSA Collective, OSSA, and they have a mentorship program called Amplify. I applied to that and I've been in that for like the last 6 weeks. By the time you hear this, I think I will have already graduated, but that has showed me a ton of things. I've went to podcast conferences. So while I started this thing 3 years ago, it's just really been the last year that I really feel like this is cool. This is cool. I'm really finding my stride. And I think that's a lesson in itself. Most things don't happen overnight. And I think we have to get out of this idea, I'm going to do this now and then in a month it's going to be popping. Nope. Some of my episodes really only be having 50 downloads. And sometimes them numbers be making you feel real small. But then you got to be like, yo, that's 50 people who taking this in. It's a lot of people, right? So it's hard to call 50 people. But if you got 50 people listening to your show, that's a great thing. So I'm going to give you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 reasons why you as a mompreneur should start a podcast. The first reason is it's an easy, inexpensive way to market your business. You guys, 464 million podcast listeners are in the globe right now. So in 2023, there were 460 million podcast listeners, and that is growing every single minute. Podcasting is the easiest way to learn. Whenever I'm trying to learn something, I take my phone. I don't even Google it. I take my phone first, pull up Apple Podcasts, and I type in what I'm trying to learn. Right now, I'm really digging into course creation. And so I'm seeing all the shows and I'm literally just listening to all the episodes. That is literally how I am learning. At some point, I'll probably go to Google or take a class or something. But the first thing that I do is listen to a podcast on whatever I'm trying to learn, because that is something that I'm hearing constantly while I'm driving, while I'm taking my kids to school, right? It's like a no-brainer. You're reaching new customers constantly. So if you have a business that you're trying to promote, start a podcast that relates to that business. All these episodes are not about CAMPspace, right? This is not the CAMPspace podcast. This is shades of content that is produced by CAMPspace, that is shot in CAMPspace. The people who listen to this show are probably people who would shoot in CAMPspace. So it's pretty strategic, but I'm constantly marketing this business to the people who listen, to the new people who find it. And it's a booming industry, right? So had you started podcasting 3 years ago, 4 years ago, you would be super far. So I say all that to say, don't wait, right? If this is something that you feel could make sense within your brand, your industry, then do it. The second reason why you as a mompreneur should have a podcast is because it's a great way to connect with people that you admire and people that you want to build relationships with. So most of the time, people feel flattered when you say, hey, will you be on my podcast? I'd love to interview you. You're so great. Let me talk to you. Let me share you with my audience. Typically, if people's schedules are, if it can happen, then they'll say yeah. So if there's somebody in your sphere that you want to learn from, that you want to network with, invite them to be a guest on your podcast. It's a much better way to invite someone to be a guest on your show where they can talk about themselves and promote themselves than to say, hi, can I pick your brain? No, that is not mutually beneficial and they get nothing out of it, but you wasting their time and you sucking their energy out. How do I know? Because it happens to me all the time. So having a podcast is a perfect way to get in there with somebody that you've been wanting to work with for a long time. Invite them on your show and build a relationship off of that. Also, by inviting them on your show, you then allow yourself to be introduced to their audience, right? There's even more people that find out about what you're doing with your show. The third reason why you should podcast as a mompreneur is that it immediately makes you an authority on whatever your industry is. So even though I don't have thousands and thousands of followers, I'm Patrice, and I'm cool on that. People do attach me with content. And if you Google my name, the word content is going to come up in there because I own a content studio, but also because my podcast is about content and I use that word all the time. It's in the title of my content, right? So if you have something that let's say you're a baker, right? And you want to start a podcast on baking techniques, right? It's like Baking with Bethany. You immediately become an authority on that topic because you're starting to put out content on that topic that people can learn from. So if I'm a news reporter and I want to talk about baking in DC and I Google it, your thing might come up. You're more likely to be asked to be a part of that conversation. So third way, and the third reason is because you will instantly become an authority in your subject matter. The fourth reason why you should have a podcast as a mompreneur is because podcasting is social proof. Podcasting gives you tons of audio content, and now it also gives you tons of video content that can be clipped, split, shared, tagged, all the things. The more content you have living in the stratosphere, the digital world, makes you have that much more positive social proof, right? You can have tons of graphics. Again, you can have lots of video. You can be guest on other people's shows. You're building this content arsenal that makes you solid. I'm going to trust somebody. I'm going to listen to somebody who has spent 2 years talking about the same thing than somebody who just decided to post about it yesterday. Right? They don't have enough social proof. They haven't proved anything to me. But this person, they done all these interviews. They had all these different tips and tricks. All that, they got the proof. I'm going there. And you want to be that person for whatever your industry is, because when you have that social proof, people want to buy from you. People trust you. People share what you're doing with someone else who may want to buy from you as well. Not the number one reason why I decided, but when you sit back and you think about why all of this matters, for me, podcasting matters because my children at this point have 110 plus episodes of me. And with all of those 110 plus episodes, when I pass on, or even before that, there will never be a question on what my mom, my grandma, my great grandma, my great aunt, all of that. There will never be a question of who I was, what I believed in, what I experienced as a mompreneur. And that's crazy. I want you to think about if you had recordings and video of your grandmother or your great grandfather. If you really think about it, that's mind blowing, right? Because we don't really have that. I have memories of my grandparents, but I wasn't recording them on my cell phone. Like it just wasn't, I wasn't thinking about that when they were alive. So now that we have these digital means of staying connected, I want to make sure that I take advantage of it. And whether or not this platform makes me a ton of money, which would be amazing. Okay. It's the value for me is, again, like my son, even now, like my son was a guest on the show. Like I forget what episode that was, maybe episode 90. And just having a conversation with him about what it's like to have a mom that owns a business and hearing his thoughts on entrepreneurship is crazy. Like, that's just so cool. And even when he gets older, his kids will be able to see that conversation. So for me, that is really the most important reason why I have this. And I think it's a little different than having a social, like an Instagram page, right? Like somebody could argue, well, you could just do that on your Instagram page. Yes, you can, but that's a platform that we don't own, right? But these audio recordings, even if podcasting goes away, right, I will always have these audio recordings. Like, that's just what it is. There's a folder of these actual raw video files and the raw audio files that will, they're living in a digital space. They're not even like hard copies. They're all digital that, again, those who I love will be able to experience me even when I'm not here. And I just think that is really, really cool. And I think we have to start thinking about that. That's a part of your legacy. Legacy is not always about how much money you saved up, what properties you bring in. Nah, legacy is also about what your thoughts, how your thoughts are left, or what thoughts you had are left in the universe. And what's your impact after you actually are no longer physically here? And can people still learn from you once you're gone? Like, that's also a part of legacy. Not saying the monetary financial stuff doesn't matter, because it does. It's also those other things too, you know? And so I just, I challenge you to think about that, mompreneur, as you're going on your day and doing all the things. What part of your existence will matter when you're not here? One thing that's been on my heart really heavy, and I'm purposely saying this because I'm hoping and praying there's somebody that listens to this that can help me. I really think God is putting it on me to homeschool my daughter. My daughter is on the autism spectrum. She is 5 years old. And I know that I just don't believe that she's going to be able to get the support she needs in a regular school. They've done all they can, but I know what my daughter needs. Very clear. I know exactly what she needs. And I'm like, you know what? If nobody else can do it, I'm going to have to do it. And I was the person that would be like, I ain't never homeschooling my kids. I got to get them out this house. Like, y'all, it was not me. But I think it is me. And that's a part of like legacy, because as she grows up, like, she'll have memories and I'll have memories, right? Of just us sitting in our little classroom and like doing her work. And, and so, we wear a lot of hats, and the load is heavy when you're a mom that owns a business that also works a full-time job and a spouse and all the things. But God never gives us more than we can handle. And he knows exactly what he gives you. So we either take it and do with it what we're supposed to do, or we don't. We make excuses. We say that this is not for me. And I hope that you are the former and not the latter. Take this advice seriously, guys. Here's the deal. If you are going to start a podcast, though, you got to be consistent. I've seen so many people who, I started a podcast for trees. We 6 episodes in, 6 months in, and they're like, oh, yeah, I'm done. That was season 1. And then season 2 never happens. Or it takes a year for season 2. That doesn't work, right? You can only do seasons if you're famous. If you're doing seasons as a regular Joe Schmo like me, people falling off. And when you come back, you launch season 2, season 3, nobody's checking for you because you weren't consistent. So if you know you can't sit here and do a show every other week. When I started this show, the first 2 years, it was every other week. It was not every week, right? I had to grow to that. But if you can't lock into committing to doing this consistently, then just don't do it. Consistent doesn't mean perfect, right? You don't have to have this crazy production. You don't have to have all that. You literally can go in your closet, because I've done episodes like this. I go in my closet, I turn my voice notes on, and I talk. And then I have Ty add the pre-show intro and the post-show outro, and we done, and it's the episode. So if it's something that you really want to do, you'll make it happen no matter how janky it might be. But it ain't janky because you're getting it done. And I'd rather see you stay consistent and do your part and trust that everything is going to work out than waiting for perfection, because it's never going to be perfect. So if you know that you don't have the bandwidth, don't have the support, don't have that, then don't do this. Don't say Patrice told you to start a podcast and then you got 4 episodes in and you're like, I can't do this, and then blame it on me. No, sis. You probably should have rethought it, right? And if you need some help kind of thinking through what this show can look like, definitely tap the link in the show notes. I do provide content marketing strategy sessions where I literally sit with you for 90 minutes and we talk about all the different types of content you can create, all the platforms that you need to use to make your podcast work, the different ideas for branding. I talk through all of that because I've done it and I am doing it consistently. I'm tired. Rate and review this episode. It was so great talking to you. And leave, if you decide to start a podcast or if you started one in the last year or so, shoot me a DM. Let me know how it's going. Maybe you can be a guest on the show. I don't think I've ever had. Have I had another podcast on the show? I don't know. I don't think so. So yeah, if what you're doing is solid and you're consistent, let's talk. Let's be on the show. Also, if you're looking for a platform to use for hosting your podcast, because when you do have these audio files, you need to load them to an RSS feed. I'm looking at Ty to make sure I'm saying the right thing. And that's what sends it out to all of the different Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google, all those things. I suggest Buzzsprout. Buzzsprout is what I use. I only pay like $12 a month for this podcast to reach all of the different audio platforms. There's a link in the show notes for that. So you can get a $20 credit on your subscription when you sign up. I love Buzzsprout. I don't do things that I don't love, and I don't rock with things that I don't rock with. So if I am endorsing something and this is the platform that I've used for the last 3 years, then it means it's amazing. Their customer service, aside from it being such an easy platform to use, like I literally load episodes on my cell phone. Aside from it being super easy to use, their customer service is crazy. I emailed them on a Thursday night. It was 9:30 at night after I took my mentor class. Emailed them on a Thursday night, something that the mentor taught me for my analytics. They responded, I think like 6 a.m. Friday. So when I woke up, there was the answer. They did what I needed them to do. And they were like, if you need anything else, just let me know. And it wasn't a bot. It was a real person. And I was just like, yo, this is the best $12 a month I ever spent. So there's a link to Buzzsprout in the show notes. I will see you back here next Wednesday for the Shades of Content Mom Hack. Quick bites, and I cannot wait to connect with you. Have an amazing weekend. All right, now, y'all, don't forget to connect with Shades of Content on Instagram at Shades of Content, and with me, Patrice Camo, at Patrice Camo. And also be sure to rate this show, leave a review, and subscribe, because that's actually the only way that we're going to grow. I'll see you next week.